Ooh, it looks like I might be live. Let's see. Um, if anyone is here and you can hear me, if I'm actually live, put that in the chat. It's so funny, the video is opposite. So I put my right hand up and it touches the left. Yay! How exciting. Look, I'm putting it is really weird. Um, okay. So I'm super excited to do this live. I uh, I've seen other people go live for the first time, and they're always really nervous about it. And I think, why are they so nervous? But it's just getting used to a different format. I'm sure I was like that when I first did Zoom too. And you kind of get used to it, and then it's not so nerve-wracking. But it seems to be working. Let me see, what time is it? Ooh, all right. It's right at time. So welcome, those of you who are here. And I am going to put this, the recording, I am going to put that up tomorrow, but I will not include the chat. So if you want to write things in the chat, you don't have to worry that that's going to go to the masses. My glasses have a glare, but I can't see the chat without them. So, yay! Hi, Ariana. Hi, Brian. Hi, Gertrude. Welcome, welcome. And you all, we can treat it kind of like a Zoom. If you want to put in the chat where you're watching from, you can do that. You can see, let's see. No, see, it's the wrong finger. You can see, I tried to put a little bit of holiday decor, so you can't get it right. It's so funny. All right. Hi, Ren. Good to see you. Ooh, Switzerland. Indianapolis. Hi, Roz. Good to see you. Hugs. Okay. So I really wanted to have this live to provide an opportunity for us to meet with our parts, and particularly around the holidays. Of course, Christmas is coming up on December 25th. Hanukkah is actually starting this year on December 25th for the first time in a couple decades. Kwanzaa, I believe, starts on the 26th. Of course, Ramadan is not until the end of February. Diwali was in October, but today is winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. So there's lots of different holidays and different things that we can think about. And even if perhaps you don't have a holiday in your area of the world right now, there's always something to explore around family gatherings, hospitality, the loss of loved ones, grieving. There's just so much that our parts carry around this time. So, hi, Ida. Hi, Robbie. Yay. Yeah, and I was just thinking about the fact that it's winter solstice, which means it's the longest night of the year. And, I think of hibernation, of bears, of rest, of going inside, of kind of darkness, and of course, finding comfort in light and in warmth, but creating rituals for ourselves to really support maybe some of the darker things, to really let our bodies and our minds rest, and to gather our inner families and make sure that we are caring for them as we go out, perhaps with our outer families or our chosen families, and that we are being self-led in that way, that we're tending to our inner family first so that we can then make choices that are conscious and about what we will or will not do to care for those young ones inside. Okay, so since there's some people here, what I would like to do is actually, I know it's not an official kind of Zoom group meeting, but I do like to start with the intention for the groups that I lead. So I'll start with that. This is an open, non-judgmental space where we can see and hear and feel who we and others truly are. We recognize that we each have a universal longing to be seen and heard and loved and valued just as we are. And that this is the same longing of each of our parts. So in this space, all parts are welcome. We practice loving whatever arises, knowing that non-judgmental curiosity is often our first step. So we give and receive compassionate witness, first for ourselves, and then from overflow for one another. All right, so that's an official welcome. And hi, Beatrice. I'm so happy you all made it. I didn't know if people were going to, I don't attend very many YouTube lives, so I didn't know if people knew how to do this. This is my first, of course, and I keep taking my glasses off and on because of the glare, but I need them to read. So, all right. What I'd like to do first is actually lead you through a parts meeting around the holidays. So you can do whatever you would like to support yourself. You don't have to do anything, but sometimes it can be nice to have a warm blanket or a warm drink, or just make sure that your environment is safe, that it's private, to really invite your parts into what to them feels like a safe space. And so usually before we start, I'd like to look around me and just let my system know that I'm safe. So I'm looking around, maybe listening, feeling my body in this space so that my parts can say, okay, I'm okay right now in this moment. I'm safe. Because whenever we want to invite our parts kind of out of hiding to be seen, they need to know that it's safe for them to do so. So do whatever you need to do to support that. Okay. Hello, Vibha. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. All right. And we can do this. You can do this in a couple different ways. As we meet with our parts, we can visualize it kind of like a meditation, or you can use a paper and pen or pencil and draw or write, or you can do both. I actually like to kind of do both at the same time. But it is a meditative experience, and you can kind of be in and out and really listening to your parts and writing whatever feels supportive to you. So as we invite our parts to this meeting, I invite you to imagine an open, safe space. And this can be whatever feels good to you. It could be the beach, near the ocean. It could be in a forest. It could be a picnic. It could be around a campfire. It might be a cozy room by a fireplace. But what we want to do is have kind of something in the center. So it might be a fire or, a picnic blanket or a table. And we want to put in the center this topic, this intention of the holidays. And you can just imagine the word there. You can draw a circle on your paper and write the word holidays, or it might be something very specific around the holidays, like hosting or a loved one who you'll be grieving. It could be something specific or general. And of course, if holidays doesn't make sense to you, you can put whatever topic in the center that you want. But it's really important that this is our intention. We are inviting our parts to come and tell us everything they want us to know around this topic. So kind of take a moment to just center that in your mind or on your paper. And just open it up for all parts who have anything that they want you to know or anything they're feeling to come to this space. And if you are a visual person, you might begin seeing parts show up. Maybe parts you know, parts you don't know. If you're not visual, that is completely fine. What we're really looking for is any evidence of parts. So I often say that we're looking for our pets, P-E-T. And I really actually like to notice my physical sensations first. So with this topic of the holidays on the table, what do you notice? How does your body respond? It might be something really strong. It might be really subtle. And you might have some parts that have an attraction response, an excited response, and other parts that have an aversion response. And you might notice that in different parts of your body. Any tensing of muscles, any anxiety in your belly, maybe a squinting. I'm noticing a squinting of my eyes. So without words, just how does your body respond to the topic of the holidays? You can draw a little figure of a body and note where you notice sensations if you want, or you can just write it around the circle, whatever you notice. Oh, my throat is constricted. My hands feel cold. My heart feels warm, but my belly feels kind of clenched. And we're just noticing. There's no figuring anything out or fixing it. It's just noticing. There's no judgment. And then you might notice any emotional energy around the holidays. And of course, there's those primary emotions. You might have happiness. You might have sadness. Feels very heavy. You might have fear, anxiety, stress. You might have anger, frustration, maybe about the culture and the expectations around certain people. You might have shame or guilt or jealousy, envy. Again, just notice. And you might have all of these at once, and that's okay too. Just notice who is here and what are they feeling about the holidays. And then the T stands for thoughts. And if you're writing on the paper, you can even put a little thought bubble and kind of notice the energy around your headspace and what's being said. Again, this is the topic of the holidays. You might hear like things that parts are excited about, things that parts are afraid of, worried about, stressed about. You might hear some more specifics in your thoughts. The parts that you felt in your body and your emotion might be expressing themselves in words. Some of them might not be able to, but you can start connecting even. That what I was feeling in my stomach is this part that's feeling anxiety and it's saying, I won't live up to my mother-in-law's expectation, or I'm really worried about Uncle so-and-so coming and getting drunk, or my mother saying, you've gained weight again, or I really feel this deep pit of sadness, this heaviness around someone that I have lost, that I will not, or somehow this holiday will look different, and it's going to consume me, right? You might just be hearing these thoughts, different fears that your parts might have, or maybe they feel urgent. I have to do this. Oh my gosh, I have a to-do list. I haven't gotten all the gifts. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. So as you listen, maybe write down these thoughts on the paper. See if you can connect. This feeling in my body, this emotion, this thought kind of go together. And start fleshing out the different parts that are here. And again, we are bringing loving attention to these parts. We're not trying to fix them. We're really just hearing them out, validating their concern, letting them know that we hear them, we see them. So if it makes sense to you to say, I see you, I'm here with you, you're not alone, you are welcome to the table, tell me all about it. You can do that. And as you make these connections, you might just choose 2 or 3 of the parts that maybe feel the most active right now, that really want to be seen. Again, they could be very opposite parts. It could be a part that's really excited about the holidays and a part who's dreading it or feeling deep grief. And bring those 2 or 3, if you're writing it on the paper, kind of bring them down to the bottom, and we're going to focus in on those. And if you're visualizing, you might just imagine them coming in front of you near the campfire, or at the picnic, or at the table. And of course, if you don't have to see them, you might just feel their energy coming closer to you, that you are inviting them, that they are welcome to express to you whatever they want you to know. And you don't have to know them by name. You don't have to know everything about them. You might just put the fearful one, the frantic, stressed one, and the grieving one, or whatever you want to call them. That as you kind of have these 3, what I invite you to do now is to focus on them, and I'll leave some time for you to do this, but to focus on them one by one and ask them 2 questions. One is, what do you want me to know about you? This is a really open-ended question, and it's not necessarily in words. They might tell you words, but they might show you an image, a memory, a feeling in your body. Just be open to whatever way they want to show you what they want you to know. So what do you want me to know about you? And then what do you most need from me? What do you want me to know about you? What do you most need from me? I'll type it in the chat. And then just receive, just wait and receive from each one. And then you can take that in or write it on your paper. And I hope you're able to listen to your parts. I'll just say a little tip here. If parts don't talk to you, if they kind of, it feels like you're not receiving an answer, they won't say anything. What you can do is kind of ask the part, who do you see when you look at me? Or how old do you think I am? Because if you're not approaching them from self energy, often they won't talk, or maybe they're used to dealing with a different part, a manager that doesn't like them. And so they don't realize who you are, or maybe they think that they're a protective part and they think you're the young 3-year-old that they care for. And so they're not going to treat you like the adult self that you are. So sometimes you might need to update them or uh, ask other parts that might be fix-it parts, even self-like parts, if they'll just give you space so that you can be open and receptive. The self has no agenda, no timeline. It's even okay. The self is even okay if the parts don't say anything to them, right? It just feels curious about any concerns the part might have. So when I lead these and I say, just receive from the part, I know for some people, they say, what do you mean? Like, I'm not hearing anything, I'm not getting anything. And that often means that you might be blended with a part that's like trying, feels urgent, to get it right. And it's really in that space of allowing nothing to be there, even if there's nothing, that the parts feel safe enough to give you information. You really can't get it wrong, because if they don't talk to you, that's good information. But again, just kind of see what particularly these 3 parts want you to know, 2 or 3 parts, and what their biggest need is. And it might be something general, like, I need you to come and talk to me more and listen to me, or I really need to know that you're going to be with me and that I'm not alone when I walk into these situations, or I need you to allow more space for me to feel my grief. It might be something very specific from you, or it might be, I need to not be around so and so, or I need to not do this, be expected to do this thing. And really, in nonviolent communication terms, those might be strategies. Um, so you can assess, like, what is their greatest need? Is it for safety? Is it for rest? Is it for some sustenance? Security, and to know that they're fed and clothed? And is it for belonging? Is it for connection and being valued by other humans? Is it being understood, being seen and heard? Is it having a chance to be creative, or to find meaning and purpose in their life? Or is it, there's 9 universal needs, or according to Manfred Max Neef, or maybe is it that they need freedom, autonomy, independence, right? To be authentically themselves. So you can kind of assess, kind of in those categories, where their needs fall, and then we can get creative about the strategy to meet those needs. So hopefully you've had a little time to assess some of the needs. And again, if I'm not giving you enough time, you can do this on your own and spend more time with it. But the next step is that now that you've gotten the needs and the concerns of these parts, and you can go back and get for all the parts that showed up. I would recommend that, actually. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hone in together. So we're all together in this space, in this warm, safe space, around the campfire, around the table, around the picnic. And we are going to come up with creative solutions. So it's kind of like like you're in a meeting and there's no bad ideas. We're just throwing, spitballing, coming up with ideas. So all of your parts are allowed to submit an idea, but it must meet all of their needs, right? So maybe a combination of things will meet all their needs, but other parts also have veto power. So they're really going to have to collaboratively work together on this with yourself, your creative, calm self at the helm. And so I'm going to be quiet again for a little bit, and I'm going to let you together come up with a plan. And it might be a specific plan for maybe the specific day when you're meeting your loved ones, right? Maybe they want you to acknowledge them and as if you're holding the hand of your inner children as you walk in, and that you are loyal to them. And so if there's any potential harm to them, you will leave. For example, that might be the plan. That you prioritize those inner children over any other outer family member. Perhaps it will be that they don't want to be left alone with Aunt so-and-so. Or if, someone starts talking about politics, we will change the subject or we will leave the room. Or if they get activated, we will go to the bathroom. Or I will set aside this much time each day to have an appointment with grief and to really allow it to be here with me. Those are just some ideas. I don't want to give it away, but I'm going to be quiet and let you brainstorm with your parts specific action steps that you can do to meet their needs. Again, this is really a brainstorm, right? So you can put all kinds of ideas out there and then begin to hone in on, and see if the whole inner family kind of agrees or not. And because if some parts have concern, right? Like if we leave early from this gathering, it'll be rude, for example, right? And so you as the self might meet their concern and say, I appreciate you. I really care about the other people and I don't want to be rude to them, but I also want to be loyal to the ones inside that are being harmed. Do you have a different idea of how we can meet that need without leaving, right? Or something like that. This really is nonviolent communication on the inside. All our parts are just like different people that kind of have different needs, different values, different fears and concerns. And it's about creatively problem solving to figure out how can we make a plan that's actually, we're working together rather than against each other to find a solution that meets all of our needs and respects all of our fears and concerns. And again, you might do this again later. I find that it's really helpful to have kind of open space for my parts to say nothing, to say everything, to say something wrong, stupid, whatever, um, and to just throw everything out, because that's when the insight comes, and the self is the one who's holding this space, because the self genuinely sees each part as legitimate, as their needs and values as important, believes the best about them, knows they're all good parts, that they have good intentions, appreciates each one of them. And as the self holds that energy, that's how the parts are able to work together. It's just like my son had this fabulous teacher named Mrs. O'Donnell, and she had students, of course, like every teacher does, that were so different. They had very different needs, very different strengths and weaknesses, and she emanated value for each one of them. And because of that, all of the kids in the class valued each other, because even though another kid was totally different and learned in a totally different way, they didn't see it as shameful, because she, um, it was like I talk about the self, the loving gaze of the self, right? And so, because the teacher in this case looked at each child with infinite value, they couldn't help but look at each other that way. So it's the same kind of thing. When the self is able to hold that space and have room and equanimity for all the parts, they begin to soften toward each other as well, and say, okay, well, the self sees something good in them, so maybe I can too. All right. So I hope you were able to just at least notice some of the parts. Some of the parts were able to be seen by you, of what they want you to know, what they need. I know sometimes it's scary for other parts to acknowledge that, but I've found that it's always better to go toward the parts that want to be seen and are getting active and loud, than to go away from them. So now I will open it up in the chat if you want to either share something of what you learned from your parts, if you had any kind of insight, or if it was difficult and you have questions, you can ask me questions about this exercise, about your parts in general, meeting with your parts, IFS in general. I'm open to any questions you want to ask, or if you just want to share. And of course, you can use this exercise anytime you want. I call this a roundtable parts discussion, and you can put any topic on the table. Sometimes, like if I just feel a lot of agitation in my system at any given moment, I will write on the table what is alive in me. And again, I will just notice physical sensations, emotional energy, thoughts, and kind of start fleshing out who's here, what are they concerned about, and then kind of focus in on them and ask the two questions: what do you want me to know? And what do you need? And then begin kind of this self to part relationship in that way. Sometimes the parts need me to go to something they protect and heal them, right? And it's going to require a whole IFS session to do that. Other times they're like, I just feel so relieved that you see me and that you're hearing me that I can relax immediately. Other times they're pointing at another part. I need that part to relax because she's pushing you way beyond your physical capacity. And we can't do this anymore, and we're going to collapse. And so can you please help her, right? So sometimes they're pointing at an exile. Sometimes they're pointing at another extreme protector. that needs help. Sometimes they just want you to see them, right? Um, yes, good question. This person says, can you talk about the self, the capital S self, and how to identify the self among all the parts? Yeah, great question. So the self is, the cliche answer is that it has the 8C qualities that Dick Schwartz identified, which are calm, clarity. Ooh, yeah, that is very good. Clarity, um, curiosity, compassion, confidence, courage, creativity, and connectedness. Now, there's also 5 Ps, which I believe are presence, playfulness, perspective, persistence. Uh-oh, which one am I forgetting? There's a 5th P. If somebody remembers it, put it in the chat. Somebody's yelling at the screen what it is. But so I know there's a lot of C and a lot of P words, right? And it doesn't really mean anything, but those words are describing the nature of what it feels like to be in self. And so often what I will encourage people to do is to take one at a time and really feel or really think about a moment in which you felt that quality. So a moment when you really felt extremely calm, for example. You might have been in a safe space by the ocean, in nature, totally relaxed in the bath or something, and really feel in your body, really connect to that anchor moment, what it felt like in your body to be calm. And then it can actually be a really helpful exercise to toggle between that and the opposite. So I'm connecting to this moment of calm and I'm really feeling that in my body. And then I'm remembering a moment when I felt anxious. So the opposite of calm would probably be anxious, right? And so, and I can feel that in my body, right? The adrenaline, the shortness of breath, the anxiety. I could feel that, the more tensing of my muscles. And then I want to toggle back and forth between the two, just kind of with the memory. Calm, anxious, calm, anxious, calm, anxious. And so what I'm doing is I'm practicing the feeling state of what does it feel like in my body when I am in self, when I feel calm. And you can do that with all of them. But the reason why I'm having you toggle back and forth is because self-leadership in internal family systems and in the lifestyle of this is self-leadership and healing and healthy living is when you bring the two together. It's not that you're just calm all the time and you never have anxiety or you never have ripples in the water. It's that you are meeting the two together, that there is a calm center with which you can meet the anxiety, and that self is actually bigger than, and can even give the anxiety permission to get bigger because the one who gives permission is bigger still. And you can do that with compassion and what might be the opposite of maybe judgment, right? You have compassion on someone versus you're kind of angry or judgmental toward them. And again, feel it in your body. What does it feel like when you think of a specific moment when you felt compassion on the suffering of another person or maybe an animal? And how does that feel to feel compassion for them, for their suffering, versus judgment and again, the parts who feel anxious or judgmental, the opposite of self, they are not bad. We need our parts to help us survive in these bodies on this planet. They need to be heard. They need to be fully heard by the core self that has all of those other qualities. So that's an exercise that you can do is to kind of look up the 8 C's and the 5 P's. Did anyone put the 5th P? Patience. Thank you, Roz. Patience. Um, one of my parts didn't have patience around finding that word. um, yes, thank you. So you can again really practice the embodiment, the feeling state, kind of between the self-like quality and the opposite, and then toggle back and forth and see if they can coexist together, because that's where the healing um, occurs. Okay, let's see. This person says, I encountered an exile holding a lot of pain. So it was quite intense. Yeah, I feel compassion toward you for that and for the system. Probably, I imagine you might have had a lot of parts that were worried about that, because a lot of times our protective parts get really scared when the intense energy comes up like that. She wasn't able to speak to me, only scream. So I just held present space for her. I am unsure how to attend to her going forward. Yeah, good question. So first you want to check and see if it's okay with you that she wants to scream. What that says to me, and I'm feeling, it's interesting, I'm feeling in my body right now the empathy of parts of me that would want to do that. You can see I'm getting emotional. And that's the empathy from parts of me, because screaming is, I don't know if it's anger that she's expressing or perhaps fear, terror. But she likely is stuck in a time where she felt those things and she was not able to complete that action. She was not able to scream in anger or fear. And so I think she is showing you what she actually needs. Is she needs to be able to complete her nervous system response to danger through the screaming. And so I wonder if you would be able to, set an appointment with her and where she's just allowed to emote, to scream, to feel. And again, if you have parts that are concerned about that, which is totally understandable and normal, that even the parts like, I don't know what to do, I want to do the right thing, you can ask those parts to just give you space to just be with her, because yourself will be okay kind of not knowing what to do, just being with her and allowing her to show you what she needs, and even to be with her screaming as long as she needs you to do that. Yeah. And I just want her to know that I have parts who get her, and I see her, and I'm those parts understand that. Thank you, Ariana. Let me see. How do you identify and work with self-like parts? Yeah, good question. So, self-like parts are often parts that are, I would say they're kind of like sanctioned in the culture, right? They're seen, like sometimes even our people-pleasing parts can be like self-like parts because the people around us think they're good, right? And I mean, they are good. There are no bad parts. But they might be extreme in some kind of way, or maybe it's a spiritual part, or a part who helps us follow the rules and consider other people, or a part who really wants us to do this work, wants us to heal, right? So again, it has very good intention, like all parts do, but it's also corroborated by the culture, the people around us has told us that it's a good thing. So sometimes we can mistake it for self. But the way that we know the difference between self and a self-like part is that a self-like part has a sense of agenda or urgency, right? So if there's a sense, say you think you're working with another part from self, but there's a real sense of, come on already. When are you going to heal? Why aren't you, progressing? I just really, really want you to be taken care of. You can kind of, again, you can see it kind of in my body. So that's why I think it's really good to feel in your body the feeling state of self that's very calm, and that kind of a little bit anxious, urgent feeling that goes like this, right? And again, those parts are not bad whatsoever. They absolutely are trying to help you. But once you can kind of sense that urgent, agenda driven energy, what I usually do, or sometimes if you're visual and you're looking in at your system and you see another part trying to care for a wounded part or something, then you know that that's a self-like part, because the self in the visual sense is like the avatar, right? It sees everything, it doesn't see itself. So that might be a caretaking part that's trying to do the work. And so usually what I'll do is, once I notice that, I'm the one that can embrace them both. I'm embracing both the caretaking part and the wounded one it's giving attention to. And I say, thank you. Whenever I meet a self-like part, my self's reaction is, thank you. I appreciate you. I see you. I see what good intention you have. And you can rest. That's another way to know a self-like part, is that it gets tired. The self doesn't get tired. So whenever someone says, I'm just so tired of doing this work, it's so hard, and when can I just be done healing? I think, oh, they've got self-like parts who've been doing the work for them. And the self will tell them, it's okay, you can rest. I'm here. I'm here with you. And I appreciate all your hard work. And it will kind of try to get to know them, because sometimes they're afraid to relax. They really think that they have to do this work or else. So that's. I also have a video on YouTube. It's like a mini training on self-like parts where I go into detail about it. If you want to check that out, you could probably just look up self-like part mini training or something like that. Oh, it says, yes, exactly, Christine. She's trapped in young childhood, feeling a mix of despair, anger, and terror. Yeah, yeah, really good. Just observing and being with her. And again, I don't know how you feel. Again, if you feel overwhelmed by her energy, you can always, again, let her know that you want to be with her. And so you can, again, ask her to be nose to nose with you, or just remove a tiny bit of her energy so that you can be with her. Often exiles come up with really big force because they so desperately want to be seen and heard and to express themselves. And they're so afraid of being pushed down, because that's often what our protective parts will do to them. So they come up with really big force. But if they truly understand and believe that you are there to give them attention, give them loving attention, they will back up a little bit and remove their energy just a little bit so that you can be with them. And they love that. That's all they've ever wanted. So they're usually willing to do that. Another thing that I learned from Martha Sweezy that I really like was, you can give the exile a dial that's kind of like a volume dial, and you can practice it with them. Like, they can turn it all the way up and they can turn it down to, a 5 or a 3 or to a 7, and they can kind of practice it so that they can turn it up just enough to get your attention. And then you can be with them in a compassionate way and really listen to them. And they don't have to necessarily turn it up to a 10 all the time. So, but they have control of that dial, not the protectors. Thank you for sharing that really beautiful part. I feel grateful, and I also feel hopeful that she has you, and she has you to really witness and listen to her. Yeah. All right. Well, I think I answered the questions. Are there any other questions or anyone else that wants to share before we sign off? I know it's kind of not as personal on YouTube Live as it would be kind of in I guess Zoom, but there's a little more privacy. Okay. Last chance for a question. Okay. I'll go ahead and close then. And thank you, Brian. Thank you, Roz. Yeah, so I really encourage you to, I know that for a lot of our protective parts, it can be really hard to go toward the parts that get activated or feel, grief, pain, fear, anger, all of those. And so you can propose an experiment and say, what if you let me go toward them for 90 seconds and give them loving attention where there's no fixing, it's just I'm with them, and see what happens. You can even set a timer, and so that your system gets more used to that. It's not their default, right? But they get more used to, what would it look like if I went toward this part? So then when either grief arises, because of some activation in the holidays, or you are at a family gathering and it's stressful, you can say, okay, we will go to the bathroom anytime I notice a part get activated, and I can turn toward them and say, I see you. I see you're upset, you're angry, you're sad, you're scared, you're worried, or overwhelmed. What do you want me to know? And what do you need? And it can seriously be 60, 90 seconds. And I guarantee it will help. I know the system doesn't always know that at first, but it needs to gain evidence of it. So you might make a plan to do that. Oh, hi, Heather. Oh, I love that. She says, I have a deep connection to 3 parts and I plan arrive for some tender support. Yeah. Yes. A lot of times my parts just say, like some of my parts just said, especially my grieving parts, they said, we just really want you to set aside time for us. We want to be allowed to be here during this time. And then I talked to them about specifically, like, what do you want me to do with you? One of them wanted me to go through pictures. Another one wanted me to just sit with them in a comforting way. You can talk to them directly about very specific things that they would like. Thank you, Ravi. Yeah. And it's not, it's not just listening to the parts. I mean, that is a huge, huge part of it. But it is also making an action plan going forward. And it can be an experiment. We're going to try this and see how it works. And then we'll reconvene, and other parts can veto it and say, no, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Right? So it's a real collaborative effort inside. But there's a forward momentum of, I care about all of you, and we're going to make a plan to prioritize you, to value you. All right. May you all be kind to yourselves and to all your parts until we meet again, whether it's on YouTube or on Zoom or wherever we meet. All right. So much love to all of you. I'm going to see if I know how to end the live stream. Love to all of you.